Create a blog post around a certain topic that fits your audience, that answers a problem, that helps them solve something. And then at the time that you're writing, you have to think already about what can I give extra in addition to this blog post. And whatever tool you mention or whatever company you mention, make sure that you mention them on Twitter or even in Google+, because they are interested to share your article. So it's all about writing the article that's fitting your audience and promoting it in the right community.
Hello and welcome to the Jumpstart podcast with Jeffalytics. I'm your host, Jeff Sauer. Today, for our 21st episode, we will talk with Paul Koks, blogger at Online Metrics and a fellow entrepreneur who's based out of the Netherlands. Paul and I have interacted ever since we both started our own blogs within a few months of each other back in 2012. We finally met in person last month, and it was great for me to hear that Paul had recently went out on his own to become a full-time entrepreneur. I thought it would be a fun perspective to hear from Paul about his decision to follow his passion and hear his prognosis for the future. It was exciting for me to hear Paul's journey from blogging as a hobby to turning it into a business, because this is something that I'm doing as well, and we're doing it pretty much at the same time. It definitely reminds me of the exciting times that I had starting all of my businesses in the past. This is my third time doing it. Another thing that I appreciated is how Paul offers a practical framework for how he plans to monetize his blog and where he sees his opportunities. After this call, Paul and I also stayed on the line for about an hour after that just to talk about business ideas, because it's really fun to have a peer in this business, and it's good to see Paul's perspective coming out of the Netherlands and to how he can go about things and how we might be able to work together. So what I'd say is pay attention to Paul, because I see him being a big success as long as he's able to keep it up. And while you're at it, check out Paul's blog called Online Metrics. Instead of reading a sponsor ad today, I'll just tell you to visit his site. And now it's time to talk with Paul Koks. For show notes, visit jeffalytics.com/Paul. Okay, we're here today with Paul Koks. Paul, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. It's a great honor to be invited for your podcast, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that the wheels have been in motion for a little bit here, but then meeting you last month in Amsterdam sort of solidified our friendship and relationship, and you have some exciting news in your life that I want to get to in a little bit and just learn about your journey into the world of online marketing and analytics and all that good stuff. So let's start out with the question that I like to ask all of our guests, and that is, what was the first project you worked on that made you realize that this is a career for you, whether you want to call it analytics or marketing or anything along that line?
I think we have to go back to, it's around 2008, and actually in that time I was thinking about, let's say, starting a website myself, actually an affiliate website. And at that time when I was building that site, that was the first time that I actually came across Google Analytics, 2007, 2008. And then I thought, well, since I'm building a website, I need to think about what's actually going on. So I deployed Google Analytics on that website. And immediately I got excited because I could see where visitors coming from, what are they doing on my website. So the first project was actually my own project, and it was about a hobby of mine, marathon running. And I started it in 2009, the project. And at that time, I felt like, whoa, all those numbers. And I actually have a history of working with numbers because of my education and everything that happened before in my life. But the first project was really that affiliate site that I built back then.
Great. So you were basically, you knew that you were interested in something, you made a website, you were trying to find out how to make money off of it, and that's where the affiliate part came in. And then you're just like, well, how do I know, how can I understand how to get more people to do the action I want them to do? And that's when you started to dig into the analytics and take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely. It started with setting up easy goals, like to measure CTRs on links to Amazon. And then if you see one page is doing better as the other, it's also very closely tied to, of course, to CRO. What can I do to actually make more people click on this link? It's obvious that you can make it more visible, other things, but it really it really helped me to understand, and like you mentioned, to get deeper into the world of analytics. So yeah, that was the first project that really made me excited to move more into this area. Yeah.
Yeah. So you, and obviously because you have some kind of vested interest in it because you're trying to make more money, everything you do is like a discovery engine. You're just like, oh, if I click here and I do that, I wonder what this will do for me. And then eventually it's just like, wow, this is not just something that helps me make money in this site. This is something I can do. This is useful for everybody.
True. You can apply the things that you learn to projects, not only for myself, but projects that I did for clients and the companies that I worked with. So it was actually really helpful. And to give one tip to everybody who's trying to understand and learn more about analytics is start out with building your own website, because it really helps, because you need to know your numbers and you need to use them to actually optimize what's going on. So I think for me that was one of the biggest lessons that helped me to grow in this field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I couldn't agree more. Is that you can if you're working with clients, it's really hard to try new techniques on client websites. A lot easier to do it on your own, and also if it's your own website, you don't really have to worry about the negative piece if you do something wrong, and you don't have to go through levels of approval. You can just act on it, and I think that immediate feedback loop is really, I mean, it's what drew me to the web as well, and just knowing if I did this today, tomorrow I'll know if it worked or not. And I don't have to wait 6 months or 9 months or a year to know if something worked. I'll know tomorrow if this thing worked. That's really powerful, like extremely powerful. And you can get that through client work, but it's also through your own website that you might need to do that with.
Definitely. And you have, like you mentioned, you have all the flexibility, and you can actually choose and change whatever you want. And if you work with clients, it's far more difficult. You need to get approval before you can test out things or change things and see how the numbers look after. So yeah, it has been a great project, and it still is, and I still use it sometimes to refer back to when I'm talking about optimization or analytics. So yeah, definitely something I would advise to everyone listening to this.
Absolutely. So what did you go to school to do? You said that you had some background in math and numbers. What did you go to school to do?
I studied business economics, and let's say more specifically the marketing side, marketing and market research. So I was always fascinated already with numbers and data. I think back when I was 18 years old, you know the card game Magic the Gathering? Maybe you've heard.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually didn't play it that much, but what I did was, when I first was allowed to get a credit card, I think I was 16 or 18 years old, and I went to eBay. My brother, he was playing a lot of Magic the Gathering here in the Netherlands, so the exchange rate was really beneficial at that time. Like €1 was $140 or something like that. And we bought the cards in the United States via eBay. I think I placed more than 100 orders in 1 year, I guess. So, and then we went here in the Netherlands to events, and we actually sold those cards. So that was probably the first time that I thought, like, well, marketing and sales, it's really nice, because you can buy a product and you can sell it, you can take a margin from it, and also it's partly done online. So at an early age, I already started with that. And that was in a period just before I started studying business economics. And yeah, I studied marketing and market research there. But at that time, you probably also remember that it was only offline marketing. And if you had like classes, consumer behavior, it was just maybe 5% of it was online. So we didn't get our, let's say, online education at school. But for me, it was the marketing that really attracted me to go there.
That's awesome. I mean, it's unbelievable to think that's, I mean, it's not unbelievable, but that's a business right there you can do, is like currency arbitrage, just understanding that, things are overvalued in some areas and undervalued in other areas, and just sort of being the connector. I mean, I think that there's a lot of entrepreneurs that start out doing that. I have a friend who does that, and he does it with Amazon, like Fulfilled by Amazon now. He'll get things sourced inexpensively, and then he'll have Amazon do the fulfillment, and you can turn a profit off of it. So that's a cool business idea.
Yeah.
I have to share my funny, because it's about, sort of about gaming too. My introduction to online marketing. I've never told this one before on the podcast, but the way that I got into online marketing and websites in the first place was this is like 1995. I created a website about Warcraft 2, which was this game that I was playing all the time. I think I was like in 8th or ninth grade or something like that. And I just created I took all the images from the game. I like did screenshots and then I put them onto this website. Didn't think much of it. And then I started like joining web rings, which is really popular then, where you just like you click forward and you go through these different websites. And suddenly my Warcraft 2 website was like doing really well. I don't even know if there were search engines then, but people were finding it and they were emailing me asking questions. And the funny thing is, it was all hosted on my dad's company's website. And so it wasn't even on like a Warcraft 2. I didn't even know how to do a domain name. I didn't know what that was back then. And my dad's business was getting more emails about my video game website than about his business. And it was from all over the world. And it was really fascinating to me that like that's how powerful this stuff is. Like the internet is the great equalizer, because you could be in the Netherlands like you were, you could be somewhere in the Midwestern United States, you could be anywhere in the world. And all you need is that connection in order to form connections. And so it's pretty fascinating. And I can see how that really, like you said, okay, well, this is something I can turn into a career. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to get there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a great example that you mentioned. And especially, when the websites were coming up and you see like, well, eBay is doing this. I felt like something in my head like, well, maybe I can do something with that in the future as well. And then studying economics and marketing, market research, it gets me closer to online marketing as well. Because I think at the beginning of 2000, probably 2004, you saw that LinkedIn and those websites are also coming up, and that actually brings me more like in my first job. I started working not in marketing, but I actually started working in human resources management as a headhunter. But for jobs like in the marketing and sales niche, so what I did was I actually called a company and tried to identify the people that were on certain positions that might match with the job description that I had to find someone that matched that description. And then after I identified those persons, I tried to find out whether they were interested or not. But at that time, I learned how powerful a medium like LinkedIn or other medium could be to actually find the information that you need. So I wasn't working in marketing yet, but it was very closely related to marketing and sales. And from there, I started my journey into marketing itself.
Yeah. So how did you make that transition? Like, was it a job that got you there? Was it just working on your own things? Like, what made it so you could start to make that transition?
Well, I was there working for, I think, almost 2 years. And then I saw a vacancy where they were looking for, it was more like a technical job, like as a product marketeer, product manager for a CRM application. And I thought, well, it goes more into the direction of marketing. And I decided to go work there. And I worked on that job, on that role for approximately 1 year. And the joint venture of that company was looking for online marketeers. So that was actually the first job that I took in the online marketing field. And what I had to do was actually do a lot of different online, let's say, marketing assignments for the companies that actually took on the CRM application. So that was when I was first introduced into the world of online marketing. And that is back in 2008, 2009, when I also started with my own projects on the affiliate marketing side.
Great. And so you're getting into the marketing area. You're focusing on, obviously, understanding everything from like search, a little bit of analytics and all that stuff. And then, what I know you as is really more of like a web analytics guy. At least that's sort of like in your name, your online metrics, your blog. That's sort of where we got introduced. What was how did you stay in marketing for a while, or did you just go right to the analytics piece? Like, how did you handle that transition?
Actually, I stayed in marketing for quite a while. I did assignments on, like you mentioned, SEO, usability, even search, more PPC for about 1 to 2 years. But after that, I actually started working at a search engine marketing agency here in the Netherlands. And at that time, web analytics was still kind of new. So there was not really a role for a person like starting as a web analytics consultant, but I created it more like myself because I became more and more fascinated by using data to actually work on website, optimize them, get to know which channels perform better and where to invest more money in. So when I started working there as a web analytics consultant, the first few years, I still did some assignments on the SEO side and affiliate marketing as well. But then the company grew and they could take on more people on the SEO side and affiliate marketing, so that I eventually went more into web analytics itself. But I did a lot of SEO as well. So web analytics and SEO I've done for probably around 5 to maybe 7 years. And then at the end, I managed the department there of web analytics and SEO. And that is around 3 years ago. And I fulfilled that role for 3 years. So, but at that time, for myself, the assignments that I did were more on the analytical side. So I helped the companies to set up Google Analytics, to analyze the data, give a lot of workshops, and to actually teach them how to use the features optimal for their own website.
Yeah, and obviously in the Netherlands, there's all kinds of like really advanced marketing going on, like probably even more advanced per capita than any other country in the world, it seems. So you were obviously leading the team in doing this type of stuff. Were you guys like a Google certified partner along the way, or were you working with partners, any of that type of stuff?
Yeah, at that time we worked together with another company, and so we were certified as a Google Analytics partner together with that company. So it was a larger, let's say, corporation, and I think in total we had at that time around 7 people working on analytics. And like you mentioned, in the Netherlands, the level of analytics is really high, actually. And you could see that at the conference a few weeks ago. There are a lot of people that actually are interested in it and working with it at a high level. And quite a lot of analytics certified companies in the Netherlands. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was not to get off track here, but a couple weeks ago is where we met in person in the Netherlands, and I had given a speech there, and one of the first comments I got was, "I think most people already knew that," and I was like, "Oh no," because I thought it was pretty. I mean, it's pretty advanced stuff for the average marketer learning about these things, but it's just that your audience is so advanced. I mean, how many partners are there in like Google certified partners in the Netherlands? Isn't there like 20 or so, or?
Yeah.
Between 10 and 20?
Yeah, I think it's close to 20 now. So that's quite a lot for this country here. And there's still a lot of other agencies that know actually quite a lot, but still are not certified. But yeah, the number is growing, I think, every year with a few. Yeah.
It's fascinating. And not just certifications, but also like there's companies that are providing services. I used the Yoast analytics plugin, which just changed its name right before we recorded this. He just sold it, the Google Analytics plugin, but it was like it was so far advanced, I couldn't believe it. But there's just a lot of cool stuff coming out of the Netherlands, and that's obviously you're adding to that, which we'll get into in a little bit here. But I just wanted to add that to the users, is that there's all kinds of really cool stuff that you see first coming out of the Netherlands, where you'd think that it maybe was coming out of somewhere else, but don't. And the Dutch have quite a bit of knowledge here, and quite a bit of awesome things they're putting out. Yeah,
I totally agree with that, and I'm happy to have all those people among me here in the Netherlands, and it's great, and it's a fascinating field, and great to work in.
Yeah. So that, and I mean, I'm part of. I like to share stuff on the podcast that's interesting to me, right? So I know obviously this is about you more than anything, but it's also like I think that it's interesting to the users just to hear about it. There's like this concentration, a very small country. There's this many people concentrated there that are just awesome at measuring the web, understanding the web and measuring it. How has that influenced you personally? Being around so many brilliant people, being around, such an attitude around you can do this and we are the leaders here. Has that, obviously at some point while you were the, manager of web analytics and SEO, you started your own blog. What did you start the blog to contribute to the community? Did you start it? What was the reason for starting that, and how did the community around you influence it?
Well, I think that there's several reasons why I wanted to start it. One of them is that actually first I started building like affiliate websites, and like you mentioned, to try out things and to earn some money on the site. But I also went more on the, let's call it, the black hat side of SEO. So I know pretty well like what you can do and what you can do by now, by learning through failing as well. So, and then after that I thought, well, I still want to build a website, but I also want to add value, like you mentioned, add value to let's say the community. And what I see in the Netherlands, there are quite a lot of people that write about Google Analytics, but it's kind of unique to get an English voice out there when you're in the Netherlands. I mean, most people here write in Dutch, and all the trainings, workshops that I did in the past, people said like, please, can you use, for example, the Dutch interface instead of the English one? And that is really hard because everything you read online is in English. So if you read in English, then you like to talk and speak in English about what you practice. So I thought, well, it might be a good opportunity to start a blog and actually to share and to contribute to the community, because I learned a lot through reading, to building my own websites, to talking with peers. But then I thought like, well, I think now I have some knowledge to share with others. And I just started out with some simple blog posts. It's around 3.5 years ago now. But I saw like people are seeing those posts, and some people are commenting or retweeting the stuff that I wrote. So I thought, well, it's not that bad, I guess. So from there, I kept on writing, and I enjoy it until the day of today. But it started out really small, and I became quite fascinated by it. That everybody, that I spoke said, well, it was a nice article, like very good comments, and so I felt like it's really motivating to do it and to give back to the community. And actually what is one of my, let's call it, missions, is to make everybody, let's say, learn analytics and learn how to apply different techniques to better improve their websites and to learn more about their visitors. And I think there's no better way than doing that as building a blog, because you can reach such a huge audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the funny thing is, going back to what you were saying about, in your country, most of it was not in English language, which makes perfect sense that they would write in your native Dutch language. But at the same time, you can reach a bigger audience, obviously, writing in English, and so, just to be honest, I didn't realize you were in the Netherlands for probably the first year that I was reading your blog, because it was just like it was all English, all just useful information. And so, unless you really look, like, this is a truly international place where anybody in the world can read what you write, and that is an advantage, obviously, for you to be writing in English as opposed to writing in your native language as well.
Yeah, that's really true, and thanks for your comment. And actually, you're totally right, because when I started this blog, of course, with my background in SEO, I also analyzed like the keywords and how is the traffic, what is the traffic, what are the traffic predictions, and Google Analytics searches in the Netherlands are far lower than of course in English, because it covers so many countries. And I think today, for myself, like the United States, but India is really, really big as well.
Yeah.
And then United Kingdom, Canada, Australia. So there are many countries where English is so prevalent. So yeah, definitely it's also, I like it more to be able to reach out to many people all over the world, and that's impossible in the Netherlands. So I didn't write many blog posts here, like in the Netherlands. For some blogs, I guest post once in a while, but it's just the audience is far smaller than when you reach out to the international audience.
Yeah. Well, it's smaller, but it's also it's concentrated too, which can be good and bad. I mean, it's there's just a lot of really. I mean, obviously there's a lot of good things going on, but there's also a lot of people there. A lot of people who are doing it too. So it's harder to get through your message to a smaller group who's already well versed than it might be looking after other markets that maybe haven't seen this information before. India is a really good example. I get a ton of traffic on my website. I think it's the number 2 country, maybe number 3 behind the UK and the US, and they're just thirsty for knowledge. They're thirsty for learning these things and going through it in the online marketing world. So it's really fascinating to see that both of us are getting that type of play there within those communities.
Yeah, and I also think that another reason why I started this website is that what I see quite often is that when people write about analytics, it's sometimes in let's say, a technical way. And since I'm more like a marketer with some technical knowledge, I can write more like on the marketing business side in an easy way. And that is what I often hear back, is that the posts that I write, they are not too difficult to understand, because I write it from a marketer's perspective, and I try to keep the technical information to, I try to keep it to limited instead of going too much into technical details. And that is probably, what drives my motivation also to write.
Yeah, absolutely. It's trying to simplify that complex, right? Because this is hard. I mean, it's if it were easy, then everybody would be doing it. But also, people don't even know about it if it's too complex. So it's somewhere in between.
True.
Curious though. So we started our blogs within a couple months of each other, because I think I started Jeffalytics September of 2012. You started December of 2012. And this is more of just an observation than anything. I think at first we both started writing blog posts, and I remember seeing you posting on like the Google Analytics, Google Plus community. On Google Plus is probably where I learned about you in the first place. And at first, and Simo was just starting right around that time. I think he started maybe a year after us actually, and look at how far Simo Hava has taken off. But being part of those communities, I think the first time you post, somebody's like, who the heck is this guy, right? Like, who is this guy, and why should I care? And not, I'm not saying that I actively said that about you, but at first you just see a new face, and you're like, okay, they probably won't come back, right? They're going to post one thing, and then you'll never hear from them again. And then you see a second thing, and you see a third thing, and eventually it's not who is this guy, it's like, oh, Paul. He's one of the guys, or guys or girls, whoever it is. He's one of the people who's really contributing to the community. And eventually, you do that long enough, and then your name becomes like synonymous with a member of the community and somebody who's making us better. And that's, so obviously, I think the biggest thing here is like consistency and just being patient with what you're doing, because from when you start something till when you can turn it into a business, which I'd like to talk about in a little bit here, about how you're turning your blog into a business. It takes time to get there. Any thoughts on like building up your audience and building up your presence?
Yeah, when I look back, I've now written around probably 120 blog posts. I think about building your audience, what I didn't do in the past and what I'm doing more now is, in the past I just published a blog post and I was waiting like, well, will it get shared? Will people like it? Will they comment on it? Or what will they do? But actually writing your content is just one thing. And I think the other thing that is of equal importance, or even more important probably, is promoting your content in the right way. And so if I can give an advice on that one, instead of writing like every week, you can better write 2 times a month, and make sure that the content that you write is really fitting your target audience and that you promote it as well. Just to give an example, if you write about Google Analytics, you have the Google Plus community, but you also have like a large LinkedIn network, which is actually run by someone I know here in the Netherlands, and it has like 80,000 members. What I saw from the last post that I wrote is, if I add it to there, like I get sometimes around 40 or even 50 likes just from the community, but it's not just likes, it's a lot of traffic. So in short, you should write what people are looking for, and you can use different tools for doing that. You can use free tools to look to search out, let's say, the search volume of keywords, and then to write a really compelling article around it, with actually a lot of actions that people can take from that article, and make sure that you promote it in the right communities. And if you link out, for example, to what I did in a post yesterday, to Clipfolio or to another application, Supermetrics, or whatever tool you mention, or whatever company you mention, make sure that you mention them on Twitter or even in Google+, because they are interested to share your article. So it's all about writing the article that is fitting your audience and promoting it in the right community. And I think one great example of this is Backlinko, Brian Dean. I spoke to him a lot of times, and he, whether you agree or not agree with his methods or with his content, that's not really important now, but I think he's great at doing outreach to actually build his blog. And that is an important thing to learn if you want to start out building your blog, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, writing is, the reason why people don't start blogs is because they don't think they're writers. So like that is the first part of this. Like if we don't write something, we don't have anything to talk about. Like there's nothing to talk about if you don't write at all. But that's just that's the first barrier we hit. But the reason why people give up blogs is because they don't feel like anybody's listening. And the reason why people don't listen is because people don't care. I mean, people don't care about what you write unless you give them a reason to care. And so what you're saying is spot on. You need to make sure that you include the keywords that they might be looking for. That's an obvious thing, but it works every single time. One of the best methods I have for getting search traffic is if I'm looking for an answer to something and I don't find it, then I write a blog post about it to provide the answer. And it turns out that thousands of people and tens of thousands of dollars go into my bank account by doing that. It's really that simple to do that. It's pretty amazing that you just answer people's questions when they have them. But just answering questions isn't always enough either, right? There's the other element to it, and that is being a member of the community and sharing with the community and making sure that when you do something that people can know about it. And that can give you both the immediate traffic boost, which you're talking about, like you can get thousands of people to come to your site from the right promotion on some of these communities like Google Plus or LinkedIn. But the other thing that's really important is, in addition to the short-term traffic, it's the benefit of becoming a brand, right? Like Online Metrics, your website is, you're doing brand building, not just link building and not just traffic building, right? Like at the end of the day, a traffic boost from a LinkedIn post is very temporary. It lasts, the half-life is about 2 days, right? So like the first day you get a ton of clicks, second day you maybe get half as much, third day a third as much, or fourth as much, and then it's gone. Versus like people now know who you are, that number is higher. And so they'll click on your search results, they'll listen to you more closely next time. That's really the benefit that we get out of doing that type of stuff.
True, definitely true. And one of the things that's really important as well, I think, for everyone out there building their website or online business, is to actually, if you are writing good blog posts and you attract quite a lot of visitors through search, what you want to do, because those are people that very often just come one time to your website because if they're interested in a specific topic, or they might return, but a lot of people will just come once. Then you've got one opportunity to actually make them subscribe to your blog so that they keep coming back and they receive your updates. So that is something that I'm working on a lot of late, to actually provide a lot of value by giving free guides or anything related to a certain topic, to make them actually willing to subscribe and willing to receive updates in the future, free ebooks and everything that eventually can drive your online business.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the way that you're doing that right now too. Because, well, first of all, just the point that you're making is spot on. That getting search traffic is just having traffic alone is such a 2000 thing, right? Like the year 2000 to 2009 maybe was cool to get traffic. Like now, the next step is that traffic has to be productive to you, because otherwise it's just wasting your resources. So capture their email address, drop a remarketing tag on them, turn them into somebody that you can market to again. So like the search traffic is really just, maybe it's your first point, maybe it's not going to get a lot of conversions from organic search, but it's going to be lead to all these other things. And I really like how you're not just capturing email addresses. I mean, I would say that, as you experiment with it, you're really effective, or at least people know that you want their email address. There's no doubt about it on your site right now. It has good offers. But what I like about it is a lot of people will capture your email address and do it aggressively, but they won't follow up or do anything. But what I like about yours is that I get emails from you right now, and I don't want to delete them. Like, that's how you can tell that an email is good, because like I delete emails all the time, but yours are like, they're introducing a blog post, they're providing useful information. I look forward to your emails, or I like them. I want to keep them, as opposed to most marketing messages that are out there are the opposite of that. And so I think you're doing a good job there. How did you come upon that strategy? What was your motivation to take that approach to emails?
Well, I started out using MailChimp, I think, around 2 years ago. And at that time, until very recently, like 1 month ago, actually, I used the tool, but because I couldn't, let's say, do any automation or do a lot of, let's say, cool stuff with it, I decided to change. So at first, I started out doing RSS email campaigns. But what I thought, like, this is not going to help me in the long run, because it's better if you write a unique message for every blog post that you get out there to make people willing to click. And I can immediately see the result, because now, for example, the blog post that I did yesterday on table filters, it had an open rate of, I think, 35% around, and between 10 and 15% click. And that is, for blog posts, it's quite good, especially after 1 day. But I introduced it in a good way. And besides that, if you're talking about like how can you make people like being enthusiastic from subscriber to raising fans, is that what I'm doing now is, for the most popular topics, I'm writing additional free ebooks, and those free ebooks can be gained by subscribing to my newsletter. But my current subscribers, I send them an email and say, hey, there's a new ebook available, to give them more for free, to even make them, let's say, a better fan than they were before. And instead of using, for example, just one thing to try to convince people to become a member of your community and to receive updates, what I try to do to personalize this as much as possible. So one example is, if you write about filters like I did in the past, it's really useful to give them something extra, which is really close to filters, instead of giving them something generic in return. So by doing this, you actually make them happy. They're willing to subscribe. They're willing to receive your, let's say, your updates. And if you personalize them, they will be much more happy than if you just send out an RSS or anything like that. And it started working out immediately. And I think I learned through reading other blogs and seeing what they are doing and who is successful in doing email marketing, everything around it, and for like, well, I have to apply this myself.
Yeah. I mean, like, so content upgrades and just giving people more of, adding value to the equation. I think that's important. I've been doing that as well, as much as I can, making case studies on it. I think you're right though, the more specific you are to the post, the better it's going to be. I've actually had some failures trying to go too generic. So doing something specific and then having an upgrade that's generic doesn't work very well. People want tactics, especially when they come in through search, because they're looking for the answer to their problem. Whatever their problem is, they want the answer right away. They don't want to solve for the future.
Yeah, and what is really helpful if you want to go a little bit deeper there is that if you have a content upgrade and you say, like, after 3 paragraphs, like, click here to get this bonus guide, that is the first time that people will read it. But what you can do as well is, you've seen them all over the place, like the pop-up exit intents. So when someone is going to let's say the browser bar, typing another address, then you can also launch a pop-up and show your product again. So you can even personalize the exit pop-up intents for all your pages, let's say for your top pages on your website, to try to get even more subscribers for your updates and to grow your base, grow your audience.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's really the model that you mentioned Brian Dean, but I think that's really the model that bloggers are employing now in order to get more, right? It's funny because you have to be more resourceful today than you did 5 years ago. 5 years ago, something even like AdSense, just having little ads on there was enough to make money. But once those things started to dry up, and once affiliates got maybe more difficult, it's like, okay, well, you need to own the product and you need to become the product. And so you're talking about a lot of these things that, putting these things in place is going above and beyond creating a blog post, and it's creating sort of it's connecting the dots for the person, from the beginning. It's creating a sales funnel or just a permission funnel around these things, as opposed to just being satisfied with search traffic comes to my site and then they click on an AdSense ad.
True, and you have to test everything, because you have those also, it's called like the welcome ads from SumoMe, and it pops up in your face immediately when you visit the website.
Yeah.
It can work well, but it can also annoy a lot of people. So you have to find a good balance, I think, in building your audience and not dissatisfying your current audience. And but that is something we have to test every day.
Yep, and that's exactly it. Is like you need to figure out who your audience is. That's an important piece here, which is, a lot of people don't really think about that. Segmentation is key. You and I have had a conversation about why I like Active Campaign so much, and it's because it lets you segment better than other tools that are out there. So segmentation is really important. And then, just knowing that. But the question I think a lot of people say, or that a lot of people are wondering though, is we're taking something that might be a blog post you spend an hour or two on, and now we have to create a content upgrade, which might take us several more hours, or these extra things do take more time. And so that's part of where you're talking about, instead of doing something average every week, do something better every 2 weeks. Just do less of it and have that work harder for you. Is that what you think? I mean, does it take a lot more time to do it this way?
Yeah, definitely. It takes a lot of more time, and what my advice is also to create your content upgrade in advance. I didn't do it myself, but in the past, now I'm trying to do it, because if you create it in advance, you will leverage it even more, because the day that you post and it gets on social media and it gets some traction, that is the time that you want to actually get more out of it. So my advice would be create a blog post around a certain topic that fits your audience, that answers a problem, that helps them solve something. And then at the time that you're writing, you have to think already about what can I give extra in addition to this blog post. I mean, you can't write something from 300 words and then put in a content upgrade. Of course, you have to provide some value in the blog post as well. But that is what you should do in advance. And then your strategy about how are you going to promote it, and who do you think is going to share it, and where will you promote it? Yeah, it takes a lot of time, but I think that if you spend like 50% of the time creating your content, building your content upgrade, and 50% of the time to actually promote your blog post, it's probably a right balance. I'm not yet there, but I think that is where I'm going to. And also, you can better write 2 blog posts a month that are really spot on, that really help people, instead of just pushing yourself to write every week, because you can send out to your audience other messages as well to actually help them educate on what they are doing, instead of writing a full blog post.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I mean, I think there's different ways to budget your time. Also, you can build a team around it. That's another thing, is I'm building a team around a lot of the stuff that I'm doing to make it so we can do these things. But balancing it is difficult, right? You gotta figure out which media is important to you. You gotta be consistent with them. So if you're, I'm trying to do both the blog, the podcast, and the YouTube stuff right now, and trying to do it all as well as I just did the blog, and that can be difficult. I mean, you gotta plan, you gotta really work hard to get these things going. But the important thing to realize is that the work pays off not just in the short term with like a social share or a blog, like you can email your list, that type of stuff. It pays off in the long run because you have this back catalog, you have search traffic, you have people who understand and know what your brand is. And so that's really the important thing here, is that it is a lot more work. But at the end of the day, the things that stay is the brand. When all this is said and done, do people know who you are or not? Are they going to say, who is this guy, or who is this girl, who is this person who's doing this? Or are they going to say, oh yeah, that's Paul, that's Jeff, that's the type of stuff that you need to build to?
True. I can only agree with that. It's really the long-term gain that you will get. And also, in my case, I just enjoy writing and sharing my thoughts, sharing my ideas with the audience. So it's not that hard in a sense that I feel like it's a hobby. So as long as that's the case, I think it's great.
Yeah. So so obviously that's what I wanted to talk about next. And you say it's not as hard when you feel like it's a hobby, but obviously you just recently turned this hobby into a business. How do you balance that? Like how are you turning a blog into a business? What are the services you're providing? How do you think you're going to make money off of this? Let us know, like, how did you make this decision?
Well, I thought about it already for some time. I actually became let's say independent 1 month ago, and the decision I made, I think I made quite some decisions in my life, like to pursue some challenging things. In the past I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, I ran 3 marathons, I did a lot of things like in areas outside of what I'm doing now, like the analytical part. But let's say I was really longing for more flexibility in my life, in a sense that I want to be, to choose like when I work and where. That is very important for me. I always like to pursue my own vision. Like when I work at a company, I feel like they're going in that direction, but somehow I always feel like, well, maybe we should also do this or that. So that made me feel like, well, I should try it myself, like to become an entrepreneur. And I thought I already have built an audience like on my website. And one of the other things that made it a little bit more easy for me to take this step is that I have a few projects here in the Netherlands going on for a couple of months. So I have already something to work on. So I see it as 2 things. One is the network I have here in the Netherlands to work with and to get some assignments from in the analytical field. And on the other hand, I'm slowly transitioning the blog towards an online business. And like you mentioned, what services do you think you're going to provide? Well, to start with, I'm thinking about 2 things. And one is doing audits for companies, like audits about their setup, like to see how they've set up Google Analytics and how they can improve it to actually collect more valuable insights through that data and more reliable data. And why I'm going to do this is what I saw in the last years of all the Google Analytics accounts that I've seen, probably around 80 or 90% of them are measuring things wrong or don't measure the things that they should measure. So in my opinion, that is really the start of anything if you want to learn more about your business and want to optimize your website. And so that would be the first thing that I would like to do for companies that are willing to get a better presence online and to actually get more out of their website. And so that's more on the company level, that service that I'm going to provide. And on the other hand, I think there are a lot of online courses out there on analytics and a lot of online marketing courses in general. And that is really good for a lot of people out there because they want to study by themselves and they want to learn a lot and apply those techniques into their own situation. But on the other hand, I think there's a group of people that actually need some more motivation, need an accountability partner, need someone who tells them how they should do things. So another thing that I'm going to launch quite soon is actually private analytics coaching. So I want to help people more on the individual level to, for example, transition from a job in financial analysis to actually analytics and then online analytics, and actually help them to take that step and to build a career into analytics, into digital analytics. So yeah, I'm quite excited about it because I really like to do workshops and teach people. So that is something I'm working on now to actually to market that service as well.
Great. I think that'll keep you busy.
Yeah, definitely. This last month has been quite a roller coaster since I started working by myself. but it's really worth it. I enjoy it, and yes, it's great to tap into my passion and to help others, help people actually to get better in this let's say amazing field where we are part of. And I like it to split it, like work for companies and work on the individual level, because I want to
Yeah.
contribute to as many people as I can. And I think in your case, Jeff, you're doing a great job actually with your analytics course. I really recommend it actually because I'm a member as well. So I think it fits a lot of people out there, and I'm the person who wants to take someone more on the individual level and help them to succeed in analytics.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I, just thinking overall, I think we both have a similar like services that we offer on our sites and similar things we're doing here. But it ultimately comes down to making this community better, because this is a challenging topic, analytics. It can be really difficult to think about, and just marketing in general, and working with more people to get them more confident that they can do this, and just to overall like increase the number of marketers that are out there that are confident in doing this and competent as well. I think we both are. That's sort of like a mission we're both going after, and that's why I'm so excited about your journey. This year, a month into it, I'm a few years into this myself, but it's all going after the same thing, which is to help people get better at this.
True. For me, that's actually my goal, to help people better understand the data and to help them leverage it and use it in the best possible way. And I think that starting a blog and actually providing this information is really the place to start. And then if you can build a business out of it, it's like, I think for you as well, probably a dream coming true, that you're helping people and also have a good living. So yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal, right? I mean, I hear what you're saying about getting some of your time back, but also being able to reach more people. I mean, that's fascinating, right? To think that you could do both. You could spend less time grinding your gears or grinding out things, and spend more time helping people out. And that's really a cool way to go about it. And I think that's great to hear that the business, it's so new that it's hard to know how well it's going, but obviously you've taken the leap and you're making the strides. And I've noticed, that you're putting more blog posts out there. You're doing a lot of the things that we recommend or that we preach in marketing, right? You're getting people excited. You're getting people to anticipate your emails, all that stuff. So I'm really looking forward to following the journey that you do.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeff. And I definitely enjoy, let's say, every step that I take, and also you noted by yourself as well that we are both like digital analysts, but I think also marketeers, because you need to understand all those things. Like you need to understand how email marketing works, how SEO works. So of course you specialize maybe in one thing, and that is good because that is the services that you are going to offer and where you're writing about. But it's very important that you understand the whole, let's say, spectrum of online marketing, or that you work with a team who can help you with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're nearing the end of our time. The last thing I wanted to ask you is, okay, well, you just went on your own. For anybody who's looking to maybe start their own business doing analytics or marketing, or looking to, start their career in this area, what advice do you have for them moving forward? What have you learned along the way that you'd like to share with others?
I think one of the most important things that I can say is take action and not only read books, because in the books you can get a lot of theoretical information, but make sure to apply this information on projects, on websites, on whatever you have available. So if you, for example, thinking about going into an analytics career, what you can do is, if you're not running a website by yourself, is actually look on the web. They have a lot of, I think, volunteer projects where you can actually put your, let's say, for example, put your skills into practice. So if you've taken a course and then you know quite a lot about Google Analytics but haven't worked with the projects that in a deep way, you should definitely try to find projects to actually apply your skills. And also don't limit yourself to Google Analytics alone, because there are many other products out there. We won't go into too much detail now, but we have tools like that collect like quantitative data, but also qualitative data, and it's very important actually to get experience with all of those tools to maximize your own potential. So don't stick with the books, but go out there and try to get projects for yourself and educate yourself on real life cases. And if you are able to do it, I recommend everybody to build a website and base it upon your hobby. It doesn't have to be analytics, but you can be an analyst who likes to do cycling. So start a website about cycling and learn about analytics, but also SEO, and apply, let's say, the skills that you learn to measure what's important on your website and take it from there. So really practice and take action, I guess. That is really important.
Absolutely. It's easy to be on the fence and say, I want to do this, and then wonder why it's not happening. But those who take action are the ones who get rewarded. And it might not be right away. That's one thing that I want to make sure everybody realizes, that taking action rarely leads to immediate results. And but it's taking action over and over again, building up that brand, that presence that really is important. It's as I said a couple times already, it's going from who is this person to, oh, that's Paul, or oh, that's Jeff, or oh, that's whoever you are that's listening to this. That's really the thing, is it's taking action over and over again and not being afraid of the results. And a lot of times, here's the worst that can happen. Nobody pays attention. That's the worst that can happen. Right? You can put something out there and nobody pays attention, and that's okay. That's not that bad. Nobody caring. You could say something controversial and get people to care. Most analysts aren't really into that type of stuff, but the worst that can happen is that nobody pays attention. Okay, well, you do it enough times and people will start to pay attention, and we're here to tell you that.
True, and I think one other thing is that you really have to, let's say, get out of your silo, in the sense that it's very good for yourself, but it's just really good to do, actually, to build relationships with others online, whether those are analysts or other people. But go out there and don't stay in your own room. So talk to others, whether it's in conferences or online, or it's really good. At the end, it's fun to do it, and it keeps you motivated. And if you help others, they will help you as well. So get out there and talk to anybody who can help you and help others as well.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a good closing point. So thanks for your time today, Paul. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to following your journey as you take online metrics to the next level.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeff. I really enjoyed being part of this podcast, and all the listeners, I wish you good luck in everything that you do, and I hope you will be on the podcast the next time.
Well, there you go. Another great perspective to add to the Jumpstart library. When I first started this podcast, I thought it would be about the journey of people getting speaking gigs or maybe writing a book, best-selling authors, that type of stuff. But more than anything, the podcast to me represents the inflection points for when somebody finds inspiration to do more, whether it's to follow their passion as an entrepreneur or to take that leap to the next level, whatever that might be. That's what a jumpstart is to me. It's all about jumpstarting whatever you're doing and just deciding to jump off the cliff and go for it. Paul has just jump-started his career, and now we can watch to see how things proceed moving forward. So if you're like me, you're going to be monitoring Paul closely and to see how things come together. For show notes, visit Jeffalytics.com/Paul.
Create a blog post around a certain topic that fits your audience, that answers a problem, and it helps them solve something. Whatever tool you mention or whatever company you mention, make sure that you mention them on Google+, because they are interested to share your article. At the time that you're writing, you have to think already about what can I give extra in addition to this blog post. So it's all about writing the article that's fitting your audience and promoting it in the right community.